Yo, 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 yo. What up, Comic Sense community, crowd crew? That is the 3C family. Y'all know what time it is. We're back again with another episode of CSP. That is Comic Sensory Perception. And this particular episode is going to be our second sit down, which is what we're going to be calling these from here on out. Sit downs. And I'm going to be sitting down. Before we get to that, because this guest is not just special. All of our guests are special, but this guest is not just special. Um, and I'll get into it. This is a guest that I've wanted to get on for a long time, since 2020, 2021, back and forth, some things on my end. I'm very happy and very proud to have this guest on. And I'm gonna say some things. I'm gonna cut a promo on him. We'll get to the promo. I got some stuff I want to say about this person and his impact on the comic community and the especially the Western New York comic community. I've been screaming it since 2021. I mean every word of it. We're gonna get to that. But before we do, we gotta pay some bills. Gotta keep the lights on. So then I'm gonna need you to like and follow Comic Sense on Facebook and join our Comic Sense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram. And listen, go over to YouTube, click the video, a couple seconds, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do, just don't do nothing. That having been said, I am very proud, and for a lot of reasons, because this is a man that hails from Western New York, that hails from Buffalo, New York, my hometown, where I happen to be right now. So I'm very, very proud to be interviewing this man. Listen, listen. I've seen this guy's work in college catalogs. I've seen his work at the mall. I've firsthand on murals at the mall. I've seen his work firsthand in comic books that he's been cranking out since before I met him. Before I met him, I heard his name. Some people call him Delgado. I'm sure some people call him KD. We call him the Kevin Delgado. This is the hardest working. You are going to see him. If you don't know his name, you are going to know his name. And the reason why, so where I come from, we call it paying dues. This is a man, listen, hard work pays off, and all he does is work. Every time I turn around, he's working on something. He's doing something. I've watched him in interviews. We're in the middle of the interviews. He's doing remarks. He's finishing covers. He's always, always, always working. If you don't know who he is, he coming. He is coming. This is Western New York's own, the Kevin Delgado.
Thank you, Ish. Wow, what a tremendous introduction.
Man, it's the truth.
Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
It's the truth. So we're gonna get to it. I met you in 2021, and when I met you, you were hard at work on. I believe you just put it out. You're the real dope video cassette packages, some of the most unique rollout packages I've probably seen in the community. Period. This was Tough Stuff,
Yeah.
which would eventually go on to become published by Source Point Press, right? So I want to talk about that. I want to before we get to the nitty gritty, and I just want to shout out, thank you for this. This was an exclusive cover that we did with Kevin Delgado of Tough Stuff, a New Mutants 87 homage cover, dope 3D glasses. This was in conjunction with 3D Comics, now known as Grand Central Collectibles and Comic Sense. Really appreciate you giving us an opportunity to to work with you on this cover. Only, I believe, 100 were made or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really dope. No, you can't have this. You see, Kevin went out of his way to make sure that I got copy 0. That was really dope. I remember when this happened, you were like, "No, I'm going to remark it for you," because I didn't even want to open it, and I remember that. So tell us about your journey. When I met you, you just finished Volantis.
Yeah. Yeah. So Volantis kind of ended with the pandemic. I literally put out issue 8. I think the week of the pandemic, like the week of it starting, or maybe the week after it started. And man, if you can't sell comics, what's the point of making them? You know what I mean? And it was time to reevaluate anyways, because trying to do like a continuous story, it's really hard for new readers to jump on. So in some regards, it's really good because it's where I learned my skills. I learned a lot of storytelling, learned how to, pencil and ink and all that, the fundamentals really. But once I got started with tough stuff, it's like you could see I was like I had done my 10,000 hours at that point,
Mm.
right? So now it was, let's get cooking. Like these are good comics, regardless of, you know, of any factor. I mean, the skills are there, so it's like let's fine tune these. Let's put these to work. You know what I mean?
Okay, so and I want to get to that because when you say the skills are there and you did your 10,000 hours, there's something that I noticed that's very unique about your style as well. And we've talked about it. You've mentioned some things. You are a student of this comic book game, so much so that, and a lot of people, you got to really, really, really use a critical eye. And I don't mean from a negative sense when you look at Kevin's stuff, because you're going to find Easter eggs. He has this talent and this penchant for throwing Easter eggs in his art and his pages that directly homage some of the greats. So talk about that. Like, what is it? Just, I'm a fanboy too, or
I think it's giving the reader an experience and like
mm,
really building a world. And if you're gonna give me your hard-earned money, I'm gonna give you hard-earned pages. Like I just feel like I'm not doing it. I'm not on a monthly grind, right? So
mhm.
when I go to make a book, I'm trying to make the best book I can make, regardless of how long it takes. And to a certain degree, it's a detriment because it's taking away from money, it's taking away from commissions, things like that. But it's also like I figure my legacy is going to be the interiors. If you watch any interviews with McFarlane, he's always saying get 20 books under your belt, get 20 books under your belt, interiors. So at least you have like a legacy. You have a run on something, or maybe it's 24 issues. I'm not exact on that number, but it's having that many set number of pages under your belt where it's like you can say you left your mark on something. Um,
Mhm.
I haven't really like done sample pages for the major publications because like I can daydream all day or I can just make something, right? So I'd
Mhm.
rather just make something that I own, that I created, that I can have fun doing. And luckily people enjoy it and they support it. And, you know, issue 4 is coming out a couple weeks, and they're self-contained stories. So it's nice because, like I said, the issue with Volantis was like the pickup point is, oh, you got to buy 8 issues to read issue 9, right? You can pretty much pick up any tough stuff, and it's kind of you can read it by yourself. So any point's a jumping on point.
And this is some of the things, this is what I was talking about, right? You just saw the New Mutants 87 homage cover. You see, like, who else is doing this, right? Like, this is that Wolverine 50 homage cover. And what's dope about this book, right? I remember I got this from you as soon as I saw you, right? I saw you in the hood, you're getting a haircut. And I'm like, yo, I want that book. You had it in your car. We made it happen right then and there. This is actually die cut, right? This isn't just art. This is actually die cut in homage to Wolverine 50, the original volume Wolverine 50. So Kevin, and I just showed that to show, and you did the remark right there at your car too. That was really awesome. I just showed that to show what I was talking about how you what you were just saying, when you get something from you, you really, you put in the work, right? Um, where did the work start? Like, who is Kevin Delgado?
Right.
What brought you to the point where, because when you look at tough stuff, you do all the things, right? You don't just draw the book, you're writing the book, you're coloring the book, you do all of the things.
Right.
What Obviously we all got into this journey, we picked up a comic book along the way somewhere, right? So what were you reading as a kid? What was it that what were some of the artists that inspired you? What made you want to do this?
Well, I mean, I'm a student of the 90s, so my main influence growing up are Liefeld, McFarlane, Jim Lee, the Image guys, Teixeira, pretty much early Marvel. I never really got into DC until mid 90s. And, even then, I really wasn't blown away by it. I kind of like Green Lantern, like the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern a little
Hmm.
bit. I had a subscription to Impulse and stuff like that, but I was really more into like I would say like 95, 96. I got into Image and kind of rolled that out. I would collect Marvel throughout the 90s, like the music. George Perez Avengers run was big. Always a big X-Men fan, but really, it was really like the image all the way. I mean, like I got big into Mark Silvestri at a young age, and I think he's incredible, and David Finch and all that. But I would say, as far as like where did the work come from, like where did it really come from? Well, I'd always drawn. I'd always been an artist, kind of growing up. I did oil painting as a child, like sixth grade. I would do oil painting, seventh grade, something like that. And then and I got taught like charcoal, oil, classic stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I went to school for graphic design. My favorite class is illustration. Go figure. While in college in Pittsburgh is when I got back into comics. I was reading the Joss Whedon Astonishing X-Men run. Brought me back.
Great run, great run.
Super good.
Really, really good.
Yeah. So that's what got me back in. And so anyways, fast forward to 2015. I'm working. I'm doing, some kind of form of construction, and got into an accident. I broke my back, and I was in a back brace for like 5 months. And my friend, who was a photographer, challenged me to do 100 pieces of art in 100 days. So I was like, I'll draw 100 Marvel characters, because he was posting a different photo on Instagram for like a photography challenge, right?
Hmm.
So I just sat down every day and drew a Marvel character. And by the end of it, I did my mission. I did 100 in a row, and it kept me sane. Because here's the thing: when you break your back, they give you, narcotics, and you can't work, and you feel useless, and you're relying on like workman's comp, which is BS. So you got no money. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's a pretty shitty scenario, and I don't mean to cuss, but it is what it is. So, anyways, that kind of got me through it. And by the end of it, I had gotten stronger at illustration, and also at that time is when I started formulating Volantis. So, so then I just started building that out, and like a year or two later, I had the first issue done.
So this you could say a part of this journey was like therapy for you, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that in a way. I mean, I had always wanted to draw. Like, I had always
Hmm.
wanted to make comics. It's just it would come and go, and like people tell you can't do it. There's no money in it.
Hmm.
Insert dispute here and there. You know,
So what was the transition for you? Because you're not just a great artist, you also can storyboard, right? So was that a difficult transition for you, going from, drawing characters on a piece of paper or what have you, to storyboarding?
no, because I always had like a cinematic eye, and when I
Hmm.
wasn't doing artwork, I was doing music, and in order to promote your music, you have to make videos.
Hmm.
So I was always like I had always like a director's eye for things. I'm huge into movies, so I've always had like a cinematic approach to kind of anything that I did. If you look at my old music videos when I used to direct them, like you could see it's not just a guy rapping in front of a camera. Like there's so much more to it. You just kind of like I want to have that because some people might think it's weird, but it might draw that person in. Like this guy's trying to say something else while he's saying one thing, and he's really telling you something else, and that's called subversion. And that's character, that's detail. It's like how you were saying, I put so much detail and Easter eggs and things. It's like, yeah, get your basket ready because you're going on a hunt reading one of my books.
That's awesome. So then the transition from just doing the art to writing, was that something that was an actual transition, or was it just what it was from day one?
um no, because it's the same thing with the art. It's like I've always been writing because I would write music.
Hmm.
So it was really more than anything just a transition from kind of putting music aside and getting out of that lifestyle and really just focusing on doing art and comics and storytelling.
Okay. So
Because
go on.
it's like I don't know, like I think I got into a point with music where I wanted to do like heady concept stuff, and it's like that's a tough thing to push across. Whereas that's the name of the game in comics.
Right, right. Okay. So coming out of the pandemic, you have Volantis. You get to 8 issues. And then this character who the world knows you for. And we're going to talk about some other things because you've been on tons of covers. And you've had the pleasure of doing Stray Dogs, Hot Property, Vanish, tons and tons of covers. Shout out to 3D Comics, currently Grand Central Collectibles. I know that's who you work with, that gave you the opportunity. Well, you earned the opportunity, obviously, by being the hardest working guy in Western New York. It was going to happen, but shout out to them. Shout out to you. I want to get to that. But so this character, because this is the character, obviously, I don't want to speak for you, but that seems to be like I live and die with this character, right? This is my brainchild, my baby. You know what I mean? And you can tell when you pick up a Tough Stuff book, you can tell this is a passion project for you, at least from my perspective. I generally can tell when I'm reading books. Um, I read books like Monstrous, and I can tell which books are passion projects and which books are, all right, we got to meet this deadline. We're going to get paid to do 12 issues or what have you. You can kind of tell. And when you read this book, when you see, listen, you released it as a VHS, it was awesome. Like that release, that Kickstarter was so awesome. Some of the most unique releases, by the way. Where did this character come from? What was it? What was it? Were you in a coffee shop one day? Were you like, what was the epiphany moment where you're like, hey, I got this crack smoking cat.
So I've said this story a bunch. During the pandemic, my brother and I would play a game called Tubi Roulette.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go on the streaming app Tubi and pick a random B movie and just watch it to see how ridiculous and silly it would be. So mix that with a hallucinogenic or two, and next thing you know, I'm like, I can make one of these movies, and started kind of making sense. My last name kind of translates to cat. It really means thin in Spanish, but it can also, people say gato. So like I've always got a cat. So I'm like, fuck it. It can be a cat, cat's cool. People can relate to a cat. It's fun to draw. And then like, just kind of, I wanted it to be like a stereotypical B movie action star. So that's kind of where the look comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's kind of the vibe I always wanted to have. And I ended up setting it in the 90s because I wasn't really around in the 80s, so I didn't remember it. But like I think like my earliest memories are like 93, 92-ish. So like I kind of remember like what the zeitgeist was like at the time. So, and it's really such a great era. Like the music's great, colors are great. There's so like, look at 93 in music. Like there's so many dope albums that came out that year. So it really just helps. And also, like, as a writer, not having cell phones is amazing because people actually have to interact and it's not forced.
Okay.
And I just grew up on the era of movies, and I think it's like the best era.
It's awesome because when you read it, right, you get this vibe. And one of the things that contributes is your use of color, like really vivid, really bright, vivid use of color, like really bright, really vivid. So it stands out. It kind of it brings something different, in my opinion. I want to say Tamara Bonvillain because she uses similar colors, but in a darker way. Yours are much more brighter, but really, really vivid covers that take you back to that time period. There was the you did some Miami Viceisms in there, and some of the coloring takes you right to that. You feel it, you know what I mean? Like you really, this is what I really love about, when I read it for the first time is, as a writer myself, one of the things that, I always wanted to do. First of all, I only wrote for myself, and if other people enjoyed it, cool. But to recreate a feeling, right? And I find that about music too. Like when I enjoy music, but I enjoy some of the most obscure things because you made me feel what it was that you wanted me to feel. you successfully accomplish that. And that's what Tough Stuff does. It definitely takes you to that time period. It makes you feel what it is you want your audience to feel. You feel that, which is not something that a lot of people are capable of doing. So one of the reasons why I laud you, I think you're really dope. And it's just not something a lot of people are capable of doing. So I just want to ask you, with that, with this character, right? This is, I said before, I believe that this is like your baby, your ride or die character, right? Is this character something that you see doing for the long haul, or is this something that is a next to get you to the next step, or whatever that wherever it is that you intend to go? And where do you intend to go?
That's kind of a trick question.
It is.
So wait, let's go back, because first you
Yep.
started talking about color, and I'll hit every point that you.
Yep.
I'll try to hit all the points. But okay, so first with color, I limited my color palette. I used the Jose Garcia Lopez DC color palette from like the Style Guide, the DC Scout. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, you're going to tell us so.
So in the 80s, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez put together a style guide for DC Comics. So basically, you know how like companies have like a house style?
Okay. I don't.
Well, for instance, this past X-Men run, Pepe Larraz, RB Silva, Marcus II, and Marquez. You notice how their characters all kind of look alike? The coloring's all the same. Like it follows. So Style Guide is basically just like, these are the colors the character wears. This is the colors that'll be picked for print. This is the look of the character. These are the dimensions of the character, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, there was an old one from the 80s. So I used that as a basis because I wanted my colors to not advance past 1993. So to immerse you more into the experience, like you were saying. And then what I also did was I looked up like fashion catalogs, and I looked up what colors were hot at the time. So if it's spring 93, I'm not using any color from these catalogs after spring 93. So some of them are beforehand, like might be spring 92, spring 91. People wear clothes over and over again for years.
Right.
So that's how I picked the colors. And then watching, being a student of like cartoonist kayfabe and listening to Jim Rugg talk colors forever, I never used a black value in any of my colors. So I picked that up from him. So that's why my colors are so bright, vivid. Actually, it's funny because I feel like my colors are almost toned down in Tough Stuff as opposed to normal.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And even more so, like as I progress, as I get more, mature and refined.
Well, if you look at Tough Stuff compared to, say, Volantis, right?
I can't even look at Volantis.
See, I have the trade, and I have the first issue that I also got from you. So in comparison, right? You can definitely see that there's a decided difference in the way you use color.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, man. That's all it is. It's just, and also with a lot of Volantis, I didn't always color it. I mean, I colored it, but I didn't flat it. I had flatters from like the Philippines and stuff working on it. So it's a bit different.
Okay.
But it's more or less just refining my craft. So then
the trick.
What else?
I'm glad you caught that. It's just because where you come from. That's what it is. Western New York. Glad you caught. So I was curious to know, obviously this is your baby, your brainchild.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
So where do I see myself? I mean, here's the thing. I can do a Tough Stuff story whenever I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way I look at it. Like, if it gets stale, maybe I'll do something different. I'm not limited to it. Am I open to work on other things? Absolutely. But I'm having fun doing it, and as long as it like keeps succeeding, I'm not really gonna stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to, I could do it forever, man, honestly, because it's fun. And I've built a world already within 4 issues that I can tell a story about a different character, and it's going to be just as cool. And I can do this and I can do that. And I can, if I want to go back in time, I can, because like the first issue is in 93, the second issue is in 95. Okay, well, what happened in 94? You know what I mean? I can go back and tell a story from back when, and I can make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got the next issue written. It's been written.
You're always that way. You're always
Yeah.
that way. Like you're
Oh
always
yeah.
a few steps ahead of the curve.
Right. So that's been, it's just a matter of me finding time, and because it's such a commitment to do a book. I mean, it takes me like 6 months to do a book, and that's nonstop. You know, um,
Churning out pages or the entire process.
the entire process, because, well, I mean pages, but I'm penciling, inking, coloring, lettering. You know,
Yeah, you do
editing.
all the things.
I'm doing everything. So I mean, there's some weeks where I can churn out like 3 or 4 pages, like pencil, ink, color. It's absolute insanity because I'm also working too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working a day job. I don't want to. But no, like I have other ideas as well. I've had a lot actually. And some things I might rework and turn into something else. I've had a couple ideas. I kind of want to do like a horror book,
Mm-hmm.
but I might not draw it. So I might just like write a book.
Okay.
I'm open to doing other things. Like if the money's right, or if it's, if Marvel's like, hey, you wanna draw Ghost Rider, wanna draw Punisher, I'm jumping on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I need to have, like, I don't know how you make that opportunity without hounding people, and I don't know. That's really not my thing.
Well, I think one of the things that helps is what you're doing, right? You just continue to put out work. You continue to pop up on covers, and you'll finance your own cover and just do it. And I've seen that a bunch. I think that's really awesome. We have a cover coming out. We're going to talk about that as well. But before we get there, um, random question, just totally random, right? What is your dream job in comics?
Um,
What's the thing that if somebody threw on your plate and said, "Hey, you can do this," and the money's going to be right now?
all right. Well, let's break it down by publisher. You throw a publisher at me.
Image. I think I know. I
Publish
think
tough stuff.
publish Tough stuff. Okay, that's
Publish
awesome.
tough stuff.
Okay, DC.
Etrigan the Demon.
Wow, wow, wow. Outside of the box, it's dope.
Don't forget too, he like rhymes, right?
Does he rhyme?
Etrigan?
He does rhyme. So that's the appeal for you.
Bro, make him like intergalactic battle rapper.
Listen, y'all heard it here. DC, are you listening? You should be listening. You heard it here. Marvel.
Ooh, top of the chain, X-Men.
Really?
Give me X-Men. I'll do it. I can do it. I can do
Wow.
it.
I wouldn't have guessed that would be your first choice for Marvel.
What would you think?
Well, you said them already. Punisher.
Punisher's
And
cool. I had a
and
cool idea for Punisher too.
my next guess would have been Deadpool. Oh, that after reading Tough Stuff and your humor, I think you would. Obviously you're not writing it though, right? You'd be doing the art.
Yeah. If I was gonna write, I don't know. Maybe I could write Deadpool. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. It's so funny because like there are a lot of like, it is kind of like a similar character, but I just don't like Deadpool that much. Like he's
I'm
cool.
with
I like
you.
the movies. But like I'm not huge on the character. It's crazy.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. I like Deadpool back when he was really a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like obviously that era when you started reading, like 93.
Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting. And we're gonna jump back real quick. We'll get back onto this because I have another question for you. But I did want to touch on I think it's really cool. And I think you might be the first person that I've actually had a conversation with that first major influence in comics was that Image 7, leaving Marvel and going to Image and forming Image. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are plenty of people out there. I think this is the first conversation I've had with somebody who, that they can cite that as one of their influences. And that's the era that they, when they started reading comics. I think it's really awesome. It puts things in a perspective as to how important that move was beyond what we as people who, fans and collectors at the time thought it was. It was really important. And it's an era where many people got their first foray into comics as a result or during that move. So I think that's really awesome. Really, really awesome. Getting back. Okay, I want to throw out Boom. All right, I think I know what you're gonna say.
Boom. I'd have to see a list of the titles right now. So
now, see, I thought you'd say Volantis
for Boom.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I would like to go back and finish Volantis, I would have to like redo the entire thing. I feel like. So I might just skip on that. I would say if I went to Boom, it would probably be they have Dracula?
Image. Well, Dracula's public domain.
All right, never mind. I don't want Dracula. Who does Boom have? I can't.
Well, with Boom though, you could bring. That's why I thought you'd say Volantis, because you could bring your own properties to the table. Most of Boom stuff is creator owned, with the exception of licensed stuff like Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know. I might do Berserker.
Oh wow, okay.
Because I could do that. I think that's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I could see you doing Berserker.
Plus, I'd like to draw him in like the cool like Bram Stoker's Dracula like costume, the red one. That'd be kind of fun.
Now you surprised me with your Image pick, and I'm not surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised because it should have been a no-brainer. Tough stuff, right? But I obviously thought, and I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to ask you to tell me, because I kind of know, but just tell our audience, who are some of your influences as artists in this comic community?
In the community or in the
yeah, top 5. Obviously, Kevin Delgado, number 1. Delgado, you have to be number 1 on your top 5 list.
I love Greg Capullo. I always have since like 1995. Jeez, that's such a loaded question, man. It's so hard. Like, I do love Liefeld. He's not my favorite. I like his characters a lot, though.
You know we're gonna go in on that one.
Dude, super impactful. Like, right? Like, growing up, I remember like early X-Force comics. I remember the action figures. I was like, damn, where'd all these characters come from? And I'd like try to find out. And I'm like, oh, they're all from X-Force. Oh, okay, cool. So then I'd like try to hunt that down. And I'm like, okay, that's how I came across Liefeld. And I'm like, he created Cable and Strife. Ooh, and like then you get into Domino, then you get into Deadpool, then you get into like Forearms.
Shatterstar, Pharaoh.
Shatterstar, yeah. And I'm like, dang, like Siren. Who doesn't this guy have? What's the other guy's name? Richter. You know what I mean? Like there's so many like different characters you get into, and it's like it kind of all came from that one guy. And like I remember those covers like being like, when you're like 5 years old, those covers look tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like as far as like what it's compared to, yeah, man. McFarlane Spider-Man's the first comic I remember having. Spider-Man number 5. Mark Teixeira, Ghost Rider. Earliest books I remember having. Wolves Portacio Punishers. And I remember seeing those and like, I don't think I should be like reading these. You know what I mean? Like there's cops doing like drugs and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool.
So you're heavily influenced by those artists that made the transition from Marvel to Image Comics.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be?
And it's dope because my influence is Art Adams, and they were all influenced by Art Adams. So
absolutely.
You're talking those students, so to speak, of Art Adams that cool influences. Obviously, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback when it comes to people like Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane, but for personal reasons. And I don't think they thought Rob Liefeld is. Listen, the comics medium as it is today would have, in my opinion, would not be as valuable, as important if it wasn't for the things that Rob Liefeld contributed specifically to the X universe. Really,
I mean, to the same token, though. I mean, like I was talking about Silvestri. I was talking about George Perez.
Love Silvestri.
I mean, I was talking about, well, I didn't say it, but John Byrne. Like
Right.
Terry Austin, Walt Simonson. I mean, obviously, yeah, Art Adams. Like that's the thing is I can't boil it down to a top five. There's
I need five.
Barry Windsor Smith,
I need five.
Sam Keith.
I need five. I need five that
All right, here's
if
five.
if
Ready?
artist was
All right,
eliminated, who
all
you
right.
keep? Who
Here's
do you
five.
save?
John Byrne,
Hmm.
Todd McFarlane, Greg Capullo, Barry Windsor Smith,
Hmm. Okay.
and Bill Sienkiewicz. There's five.
Bill Sienkiewicz. Yeah. So, that's a great five. Capullo is interesting, right? Because, and you might not remember, but there was a time period where Capullo was okay, and then he got under Todd McFarlane's umbrella and started drawing, and he just became really special. Like I remember Capullo's X books, and it was like, they're cool, but he became something special when he sat
Right.
down with Todd McFarlane and just concentrated on Spawn. And like I don't know, I'm not an artist. I don't know what clicked or what changed. I don't want to say click because he obviously always got it, or he wouldn't have been where he was at. You know what I mean? I don't know what changed. But yeah, Greg Capullo is one that I think to be honest with you, I think Greg Capullo's underrated as far as people recognizing how good he really, really is. He's really
I
great.
would say this. There's a lot of his Spawn art I don't really care for.
Mhm.
I didn't care for the giant wide boots and like the giant arm gauntlet
Mhm.
things and the gigantic ripped cape and every like some of it's cool, some of it's not. I would really suggest saying his DC work from like 2012 to 2018 is more or less my wheelhouse of him just being like a complete master. That being said, you know, David Finch, man, I love David Finch.
I think David Finch gets so because you have, and obviously he's obviously from that Mark Silvestri school, but so the thing is for me, right? And this is maybe something I don't know if you can relate to or if you've experienced, but when Jim Lee dropped, a lot of people were influenced by Jim Lee. So
Right.
you have artists like Michael Turner, right? David Finch, who came out that like if you really look at their stuff, I don't want to compare because Jim Lee he created a school that so many artists that came out that are really dope because Jim Lee
Yeah.
came out and did what he did. But if you look at like David Finch, if you look at some Michael Turner stuff, I think that, you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say leaps and bounds better comparatively to what Jim, like not even close.
Yeah.
Especially go on.
I wouldn't really compare Finch and Turner to Jim Lee. I mean, seeing as how they were tutored by Silvestri,
Silvestri.
they look more like Silvestri than Jim Lee.
Well, they look better than Silvestri. What I'm comparing is, and don't get me wrong, Silvestri to me is the greatest X-Men artist.
I was gonna
Silvestri,
say Silvestri's X-Men work might be
best
my favorite.
storytelling, period. You don't even need word bubbles.
Just look at the
You just-
covers. The composition on his colors, his
Thank you.
covers,
Thank you.
super
But
underrated.
he was a much better artist line for line when he started doing Cyberforce. And you can actually see the difference if you look at the art, just pure art, eye appeal. If you just look at the art from Cyberforce to when he was doing X-Men, obviously the pages were different, right? X-Men was on newsprint. Cyberforce was not on newsprint, so
That's
better
coloring technology too.
yeah, better technology available. You could really see like, oh wow, this is really great. And yes, Finch Turner, they were from his school, but what I'm speaking about is, this. So when you look at Finch, when you look at Turner, what you see are two artists that, like, and I hate to say it because it's going to come off a certain way, they're better than Silvestri. Their art, pound for pound, know what? Listen, you and I can appreciate Mark Silvestri, but if
Here's the thing with Silvestri. He stopped working, really. Besides that Batman book he just did, I guess that'd have been he'd been ruminating on that for like 5+ years, maybe.
he did some Wolverines. He does some Wolverine stuff every once in a while.
Okay. But like for the most part, he's not, he's up there. He's not really like he doesn't have to chase it every day. He made his money. He made his mark. You know what I mean? He owns his properties. He doesn't have to draw like David Finch does.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a certain class of artist, right, that they're put in this category. J. Scott Campbell was in that category, right, where you're going to buy their prints. People are going to buy, like they're going out to get because this person did this cover. You know what I mean? We're not Silvestri isn't in that category, right? Like Jim Lee was in that category. Michael Turner was in that category. I don't even know that David Finch was in that category, but this category of artists, I think you know what I'm talking about, right? And they have them now, present day, where you want the Clayton Crane, or you want the Art Germ, or you want the, you know what I mean? I would say Jim Lee was the father of that, right? Like Jim Lee was even before McFarlane, right? Like
Jim Lee
was
is
the
a
father
workhorse,
of
man.
that. Yeah, he is.
He's just a workhorse. That's the name of his game. Is he's consistent, he's good, and he's fast. And you see a Jim Lee figure, you're like, okay, that's Jim Lee. Like, it immediately. And the fact that the guy can just pump out work. That being said, he really hasn't pumped out consistent work either in 20 years.
He doesn't have to either, though, right?
Right. He doesn't. He still does. He does more than Silvestri.
Well, Silvestri's still running Shadowline at Image Comics. Top Cow. I'm sorry, Jim Valentino's still running Shadowline. He's still running Top Cow over at Image Comics, which they're not doing every. They just had a book. I can't recall the name of it, but it still comes out from Image Comics. I think it's on issue like 4. But anyway, I digress. I have a question for you. So, dream, like if you could do one project, not your own. I don't want you to spoil anything, so don't spoil. I don't want you to do that. One project, not your own, that we don't already know about or that you haven't done.
That you and I don't already know about?
Right. We're not going to spoil anything, unless you want to spoil some stuff, unless you want to give the world an exclusive. By all means, I would love for you to sit on CSP,
I mean,
ComiXsensory Perception,
for that
hey.
to be the case, I could say that I'm doing a cover for the biggest book of the year. I would argue and say that's the biggest book of the year.
I think certainly. Let me think about that.
I would think that's a fair
It
number.
belongs in the conversation. It belongs in the argument.
I think it's going to be the highest selling book of the year. Yes. Therefore, I think I'm doing a cover to the biggest book of 2024.
Yeah, but we can't. I mean, you want to spill the beans?
No.
Well, then
I can. Hey, I just got approval on the inks today, so I can tell you that it's happening.
I'm so glad that I know you. It was such an awesome reveal. Like, it was so awesome when you revealed that. I'm like, yes, because I know it's something. I don't want to. You know what? I gotta stop. I just want to say I know it's something that you wanted to do. So
yeah,
congratulations on that. Aside from that, what's next? What would you choose?
What would I choose? Dang, that's a good question. It's like a loaded question. So my thing right now is kind of not. I know, but I'm just saying my thing right now is knocking off dream jobs of my childhood. So Dick Tracy was one. The next thing I'm doing is a big one. So then after that would probably be X-Men. So why not?
It's interesting. What is it about Spawn that keeps coming into my head when I think of Kevin Delgado?
Because I draw a lot of Spawn.
But that's not one. That's not top list.
I would throw it up there. That's probably a top 5er for sure.
Top 5er. Okay.
Yeah.
But number
one
I'm
like
would be X-Men.
I've been obsessed with X-Men my entire life.
Who's your X-Men lineup? Who's Kevin Delgado's lineup?
Ooh. Ooh. Okay.
6.
Storm.
You get a 7-man team.
7? All right. Shoot, that's tough. Storm. Cyclops.
He's Cyclops.
Colossus. Nightcrawler.
Okay, that's 4.
You got the Wolverine in there.
Okay. Get two more.
This is like the toughest part. You throw Jean Grey in there, but she's always drama and she's always dying, disappearing, coming back. Jeez. I need a brain. I need brains on this team, but I don't want to go just to Beast.
But you love the Beast. I know you're a big Beast fan.
I do love Beast. Oof. I'm gonna throw Cable in because I want to draw Cable.
Okay.
Let's go. Ooh.
One more.
No, I got two more.
Nope.
Because I'm not saying Jean.
With Storm, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Colossus, and Cable.
Oh.
That's your 6.
All right, I need a lady. Who's smart? I guess I'm a Frost.
Okay, so there's your 7.
There you go.
Okay, so that's your X-Men, and who do they fight? Who's your first villain?
First villain.
Team or solo? You don't have to name the team. You don't have to name the individual members, but you can pick a team or solo villain.
I really like Proteus.
Oh, I like you. Listen, Kevin Delgado is the dopest creator in what? That was a great pick. Because
I would
nobody was going to say Proteus.
I would say first Proteus, and then second, I would like to do Strife and the Mutant Liberation Front.
Mutant Liberation Front.
Because I think Tempo is like such a cool character to like illustrate. Because of the way the powers work and everything.
She's currently on the Dead X-Men.
Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. Proteus. I really like that pick, Proteus, because it's just not something that someone would say. And Proteus is someone that, you know, there's an arc there.
I want to see Proteus in a movie. So this was my idea. If they did X-Men trilogy, first is do giant size X-Men. Start there. Caesar said, "How can I not say Jean?" Cause, dude, like I said, she's always dying, disappearing, coming back.
I feel some type of way that you said Cyclops, but I mean that's your, you know, it's your team.
I love Cyclops, man.
I'd read it.
He's the leader of the X-Men, always. They're not the X-Men if Cyclops isn't leading them. Sorry, that's not how it works. But no, I would start with giant size X-Men, establish Krakoa, establish the team. You already have already established team meeting the new members, right? X-Men already exists when it starts off. Second movie would be Proteus, right? And then the third would be like the Krakoa era, but like compounded into like one movie. And it would be like the House of X, Powers of X, like the first 12 issues. But like wrap it up.
Okay. So that would be your trilogy.
Right. Because you would establish Krakoa in the beginning in the first movie and then come back to it in the third.
Okay. So Krakoa, Proteus, Krakoa. So Proteus would be like a transitional champion.
Right.
Okay. Now the thing is though, and I love it, Proteus is, nobody would say Proteus. And Proteus is crazy, right? Like Proteus could really just have his way with the X-Men. And it's just he's a villain. It's interesting because you don't see him often. I think you saw him in 2 story arcs throughout X-Men's entire history. You know what I mean? 2 story arcs.
Super underutilized.
Really underutilized for how powerful he is.
Plus, it ties in Moira McTaggart to the whole trilogy as well.
Right.
Her importance.
Right.
And that way you also avoid the Dark Phoenix saga, which has been done to death. You avoid the Sentinels. I mean, you could have Sentinels, but that's been done to death. Like all these tropes the X-Men have that we've already seen in the movies. It's like, nah, man, do it this way and completely circumvent everything we've already seen. Show us something new. With Proteus, the mind-altering visuals that you would get from that is crazy. You could break down each X-Men, you know, kind of like how the Goblin Queen did on X-Men 97. Like you could have the different, you know, Wolverine's claws turning into snakes and strangling him and stuff, and so many cool things you could do with that.
So, what are you reading? Do you read? And if when you do read, what are you reading?
I read, but it's so here and there. Um, I just read Pharaoh. I like that. Um, yeah, it's hard for me to keep up with reading. My stack is like this high. I was
Mhm.
reading Vanish. I was reading a lot of the books I worked on.
You did
So
a cover
generally
for
that
Vanish.
yeah, but that's generally what I do is I read the books I'm working on, and then like if I back so many Kickstarters, I literally just have comics coming in the mail like all the time, so I'll check those out. As far as like reading a monthly, I'm not really I can't really tell you I'm reading a monthly right now.
So you don't have a pull list?
I have. This is like the first time in like a long time. I don't have a pull list right now.
Okay. So what's generally give me 4 books on a Kevin Delgado pull list.
It's usually by the team.
Creative team.
So yeah, it's usually by the creative team. I mean, I was reading like everything Donny Cates wrote, and then whatever happened to him, kind of pulled me off. I like Ram V.
Love him.
Um,
Love Ramsey.
I so I know everyone likes Tinian. I don't dislike him. I find the pacing to be kind of like
Preach.
what's gonna happen. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, kind of just takes me out of it. So, and that kind of goes for a lot of things. Like, I can't get invested into a book I have to buy like 12 issues of to read. Um, I mean, 12 different issues like consecutively
Mhm.
to read. That being said, I in the past I've usually bought anything Tom King wrote. Um,
Wow,
you know,
brilliant, great choice. Ram
I
V, Tom King,
loved
excellent choices.
Mr. Miracle is my favorite like miniseries of all time, probably. Um,
I think
I
his
like
current run on Wonder Woman is the best thing in comics right now.
really.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it out. I've heard good things, but I never checked it out. I'm really but yeah, as far as reading, I'm kind of slacking just because all my time's going into art, like
Mhm.
full time. I gotta make it. Like I got so many things I'm trying to do, and I just don't have time.
So speaking of all your time going into art, we touched on something a second ago. You've done a ton of exclusive covers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them. Let's go down a list of the exclusive covers you've had the pleasure to do, and I'd like to know some of the ones that some of your personal favorites. I know you did Stray Dogs. You mentioned you did Vanish. I know you were really proud of that Vanish cover. I thought it was the best Vanish. I thought it was the best cover, including the main covers. That was the best cover. So tell
Yeah, I
us
mean,
some of the exclusive covers that you've done
so
and the
yeah,
ones that were your favorites to do.
okay. So yeah, let's go down the list. We did Stray Dogs, we did Ice Cream Man, we did Prophet, we did Vanish, We Live, Age of Palladians, White and Black, did a
Yeah, I got
double
all of those.
cover. Nottingham 6, Nottingham 9. Let's see. We just did this
We were
bad
gonna
boy.
get to that. We're gonna get to that. Boy, 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 boy.
I got another one coming in July, right around
Listen,
my right around my birthday.
I gotta cut you off. I know it's not apropos for the interviewer to cut off the interviewee, but we're gonna do that. A couple months ago, the Kevin Delgado sent me a message and said, "Ish, get me a variant of Dick Tracy. It will make my life happy." That's that's. I was just looking at that message earlier when I was sending you the link. When I say this is the hardest working guy in all of comp, he didn't wait for me to do that. He came to me and said, "Hey, I'm making a cover of Dick Tracy. I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm not gonna depend on anyone to give me. I'm just gonna make my own cover." And he went and did that. He came to me. He was like, "Yo, do you want in on it? I got a couple other. I got you. Show that cover again." And then we get an Amazing Spider-Man 121 homage cover of Dick Tracy dropping next week, y'all. This is why I said Kevin Delgado is the hardest working man. He is. He is. And I have the receipts. He asked me months ago, hey, get me before the book was even on FOC. Ish, get me a variant of Dick Tracy. And then somewhere in that time period, the Kevin Delgado said, you know what? I'm not going to wait for anyone to get me a variant cover of this book. I'm just going to make a variant cover of this book. Boom. Yeah, I just saw it. It's Dick Tracy #1 coming from Mad Cave Comics by the Kevin Delgado by Solstice Art. I want you to talk about Solstice Art.
It's just a publishing brand, man. It's what I started a couple years ago when I started publishing Volantis. Let's see, started 2017, 7 years. Going 7 years strong. It's not going away.
So this is your brand, and I just make sure people know how they can follow your brand. I know you're on Instagram. You have a page on Facebook.
Yeah. The best places to follow me are Instagram at solstice_art. And then on Facebook, I have an art page called Solstice Art, the art of Kevin Delgado. Those are the two best places to follow me. On the Facebook group is where I'll like post like exclusive stuff and art drops, and I might just pull a random book out of the vault, throw it up there, and say, "Hey, I've got this, random copy of such and such. Here's your chance to get it." You know what I mean? Before I'll post it anywhere else, before I'll post it on Instagram or whatnot or Facebook, whatever. It's what I like to do for like the real fans. Like that's your first spot to find it. And then
how are you on commissions?
What's that?
Commissions.
Send me money.
That's what I'm talking about. Listen, we hustle here.
I literally have a commission done in front of me right now. I'm not going to show it because it's actually a Mother's Day present, so I'm not going to do that. But if you follow me, you'll see all the commissions I do. Like look at my Instagram stories every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. John Brugman and I, we have a thing called Rumble Strips, and it's us just doing sketch covers basically, or whatever we're working on that week. You might get a glimpse at like some interior pages, or something that's not even a commission. It might be more than a commission. Might be an exclusive print. It might be something we're doing for an upcoming convention. John and I do conventions like every weekend. It's
probably like the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
you're all over the country doing conventions. I think that's really awesome that you guys hooked up. Two dynamic artists. Shout out to John Brugman. He's sitting in the right company. You know what I mean? I think that's really, really dope. See y'all everywhere. So really glad I talked to him at the con this weekend, set up next to you. You know what I mean? I think it's really dope seeing the two of you together. And again, shout out to John Brugman. Make sure y'all check him out on Instagram as well. Check him out on Facebook. He's John Brugman on Instagram. Really quickly, I just want to make sure that you all like and follow comiXsense on Facebook. Join our page, join the group, check us out on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. When you go to that YouTube page, which you should do, I'm gonna need you to click thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm gonna need you to click on a video for like a couple seconds. Just don't do nothing. Don't just go there and say I was here. Do something. Even if you don't like the content, you should like the content, because we have the Kevin Delgado in the house. What is not to like about Kevin Delgado? So you should like that content. Give it a thumbs up in this case. And then, yeah, you can come on back to the Facebook page or whatever it is you do. Share it with your peoples as well. So, Kevin, what is the best in your mind, outside of your own stuff? Because that's a no-brainer, right? What's the best? What's the thing that you enjoy doing the most in this entire comic experience? If it may be it traveling with someone to a con, meeting someone, being able to do a specific cover. To you, what's been your moment?
Oh, geez, that's tough. That's a tough one, man. It really is. Book releases are really nice. When I'm signing like 1 million copies of something, is cool. It's weird because everything that's really nice, usually like the anxiety beforehand is like it's like really balances out. Like dude, doing a Kickstarter. Like I love having a successful Kickstarter, but like at the same time, I'm spending a month just like promoting this thing nonstop, and then I gotta do all the fulfillment behind it and not screw up. So it's like it's nice and it's bad. Geez, that's a good question. I don't know, man. I really like doing like live sales, and I can just dump through a ton of stuff, and it's like here's a huge chunk of money, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what I should be doing. Like this is like awesome. This is what it, you know what I mean? Like it's very rewarding to be compensated monetarily for your work. Like makes it all like, all the hard days where you don't have any money and stuff, it like really like makes up for it.
I
It's
get
like,
it. I can imagine it's like, you know, I really feel what you're talking about. Sometimes I'll do a live stream, especially a sales stream or what have you, and people will be like, man, Ish, you're just so da 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 da. And it's like, yo, I'm nervous before everyone, like I've never done it before. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like you go into it, so I can imagine how you feel with the Kickstarters, and it's like, yo, you've had so many successful Kickstarters, but I can imagine as a creator going into it, it's right back to that same feeling as like, is this gonna work? And then when it does work, it's all the more rewarding. You know what I mean? It's
it's
like,
it's the same with conventions and stuff too, man. Because like here's the thing, we gotta pay to go out there, and we gotta pay for a hotel, and we gotta pay for our table, and it's like if we don't hit a certain amount, it's like you could tell we're both like we're not happy. You know,
hmm
like
I
how
get
could you
it.
be happy when you spent a whole weekend? You traveled friggin' 14 hours and you haven't slept in a day, and you did all this and you made $40. You're standing around all day. You're like, damn, I could have sat home, did commissions, and made more money.
hmm
But then it's the flip of the coin. I might sell 10 sketch covers or something. I've done it before. You know what I mean? I think in one day I sold 21 or 24 sketch covers.
Oh wow, it's a good
Like
day, huh?
that's a great day. Like that's a wonderful day. So it's like you just never know. But the ups are really up and the lows are low. But man, just the validation of making sales, we all get told art's great. I've heard it. I'm not trying to not be humble about that, but I've heard it. You know what I mean?
hmm
Now, when you say your art's great, can I buy some?
Mm.
Then it's like, whew, like I can eat dinner tonight. I can pay my bills this month. That's when it matters.
hmm
Like you said, I'm investing in my own books. It's like if I can sell these books and make my money back, like, or make a profit, turn a profit, I should say.
That's real. And there's something about the feeling too, that validation. And, for those of you out there, listen, when you're on the other side of it, right? And I'm not, knocking anyone, but when you're on the other side of it in anything that you do creatively, right? When somebody validates you, for us as podcasters or streamers or what have you, by giving us your time, or as creators by putting their money where their mouth is, it's like, yo, it's a validation. It says, yo, you really feel so strongly about what I like, me, like what I'm doing, that you want to give me your dollar. You know what I mean? It really is. So make sure y'all support creators. If you really like the creators in any capacity that they're creating in, specifically because we're talking with Kevin Delgado, with what he does, what John Brugman does, and you really enjoy what they're bringing to the table, listen, I implore you, support them. And the best way that you can support them is with your dollar. That's just what it is. It's really a validation. And sometimes it may not even just be about the money. Of course, it puts food in their mouth. You know what I mean? It helps to pay their bills. But on another level, there's this feeling that you get that says, hey man, you really like my stuff so much, like something that I did that came out of my brain. You know what I mean? That came out of off my pencil. You like it enough that you want to give me money to show me how much you like it. And that's something else as well. So do that, because Kevin's awesome. So Kevin, random question.
Go,
Storm or Wonder Woman?
come on.
I mean, I know the answer. I'm
Obviously,
always going to ask this in every interview,
it's
and I
gonna be
need
Storm on
it's going to be
100%
Storm 100% of the time.
100% of the time.
Okay, I love them both, but I'm always gonna. That's why I put those two in the category, because it could go either way for some people.
Not for me.
Okay, Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Marvel. Okay. Since we're talking Marvel or DC, and we touched on this earlier, and I said we're going to talk about it. I want to get your opinion because you are a Marvel guy straight out of the 90s. You probably watched that. You know what I'm talking about, right? X-Men 97. Thoughts? How you feel about it?
Love
How's
it.
it impact you as someone who it was really relevant to in that time period?
Okay. So with that being said, seeing people's reactions on like social media to every episode, and like I don't want to give any spoilers, but like, how could so and so die? Da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, I'm like so unaffected by that because I already know they're not dead. I know they're gonna come back. I know how they're gonna come back. If you're a real fan like me, you would know.
He hit y'all with the real fans out there, people.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone's like, "How could you do that to us? How could you do that to us, bro?"
We talking about Gambit, right?
I ain't spoiling nothing.
I'm just spoiled it. Listen, if y'all haven't watched it by now, I'm talking to Kevin. I want to get his in-depth opinion. Gambit is dead in the X-Men 97 cartoon. If you don't know, I just spoiled it. So that's who we're talking about. Are we referring to Gambit or are we talking about Magneto?
Hey Jason, if you see anything that you like, just shoot me a message. I'll throw a couple covers up here that I feel like doing. Sorry.
I put Jason's comment up there because he followed it up with Ish is gonna pay for it. But the reason why
Oh,
I know Jason personally, he's local. He's from Western New York, grew up with him in Ken Bailey. Jay genuinely, if he says he wants to support the cause, he's not joking. Like Jay's not joking. I know there was a joke to follow, but Jay's not joking.
I didn't see that.
No, that's why I put up that comment because Jay would genuinely will. He'll commission a cover from you. So, and if that's something that comes from this, hey, that's awesome. You know what I mean? He definitely will. He's local too, so we're both from Kim Bailey, was where we grew up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
local supporting local is really awesome.
But yeah,
Here
other
we
than
go.
that, nice.
You listen, Sam. We really appreciate that because Kevin's going to be sitting down with me this Tuesday on hashtag all of the spec. We are going to have those Dick Tracy covers, and Kevin's going to be doing his thing. You'll see him again. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview. So you'll see him again. You'll see him Tuesday, Sam. Really awesome. Really appreciate that. Jason says he's serious and he's going to DM you.
Nice.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Appreciate that as well. Really appreciate that. So, Kevin, I want to give you a couple seconds. I want you to cut your promos. I want you to
here, brother.
things, whatever it is that you want to say to the community. I want to give you that time to do it.
All right. Yeah. I love making comics. I love drawing. First up, we got Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy numero uno. Spider-Man 121 homage. There's a little Comic Sense logo on there. There's a Solstice Art logo on there. There's a Rhinos Comics logo and a Heroes Art. Here's Your Mom throughout around there. That's coming out this upcoming week. Let's see. Free Comic Book Day. I will be at Collectors Galore in Syracuse. And if the timing is right, I think the new Tuff stuff will be out in time for that. So we got Dick Tracy this month, and we got Tuff stuff in May. Let's, round of applause for that. I've got a secret Tuff stuff book coming out at some point this summer, probably June-ish. I've got a big book coming out in July.
I was going to say, arguably the biggest book of the year. And you know what? I could get behind that because I can't see. Yeah, it's yeah.
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 And then I think I'm going to do another Kickstarter for the next Tuff Stuff installment later this year.
So, first of all, I want to shout out Mike Tompkins, Collectibles Galore, your local comic shop's favorite local comic shop. That's a big grab getting Kevin Delgado down there. Really big. Mike's a sly little devil. Why don't we have Kevin Delgado for free comic book day, but we're gonna talk about that behind behind the scenes. Listen, everybody, this is the Kevin Delgado. I didn't just tell you he's the hardest working man in comics for no reason. Obviously, this interview isn't your normal interview style. It's a little informal. Just wanted to kick it with Kevin. We've been trying to do this for a long time. Kevin, I had fun. I hope you had fun. Hope, and I need the people in this community, in the YouTube community, in the Instagram community, wherever you're at. Go follow Solstice Art. Follow Solstice Art on Instagram. Follow Kevin Delgado on Instagram. This is the hardest working man in comics. There's a really fire book dropping in July. Really fire. You're not going to be ready for it. Tough Stuff is here to stay. You see it behind me. I'm always amazed at some of the concepts that Kevin Delgado comes up with to market Tough Stuff, so that you're not just getting somebody saying, hey, buy my book. You're getting all the things to entice you to buy your book. It's worth it. You're getting the best value for your dollar. Again, that first release was a VHS. It was like an 80s VHS. It was so great. 90s, early 90s, we're going to say. VHS release. It was really great. And for those of you who supported a Kickstarter and are able to take advantage of getting that, props to you. Hold on to it. Tough Stuff has been published by a publishing company. That would be Source Point Press. Obviously, you're back to self-publishing. Hopefully, we're going to see that manifest somewhere else, be it Image Comics, be it Boom. I'm sure Kevin will not give us an update. Kevin will just come on Facebook and say, got great news today. and then we'll find out somewhere down the line, because that's just how Kevin rolls. Kevin, really appreciate you coming on, man. Anything else you want to say, the last words before we get up out of here?
Tough Stuff 2, the toughening, or Tough Stuff, the toughening part 2. May. It's so good.
Listen,
it's so good.
He's not tooting his own horn at all. Tough Stuff is good. You need to be on it, period. It's going to drop in May. We're going to be pushing it because we love Kevin Delgado. I just want to say shout out to the Comic Sense community, crowd, crew. Y'all always show up. Y'all always show out. I want to thank you for supporting Comic Sense. I want to thank you for supporting Solstice Art. I want to thank you for supporting Kevin Delgado. Make sure you do all of the things. Go over to the page, go over to the group, go over to the Instagram, go over to the YouTube. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Make sure you go over to Solstice Art. Kick it with Kevin Delgado. Watch him and John Brugman do their stream every Tuesday. Watch them do that. Support them. Really appreciate you. This has been a Comic Sense production. CSP, Sit Down. Kevin Delgado in the house. Definitely going to have you back, Kevin. Right?
I'll see you Tuesday.
I'm just talking about back on CSP.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes, you will. And obviously you'll be back on CSP hopefully sometime in the future when that big, I'd like to get you on in July when that big book comes out.
We'll see. I might be too Hollywood by then.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. So that having been said, this has been a Comic Sense production, CSP, Comic Sensory Perception. I am Issue X, and we're up out of here.